So go ahead and all right. So I'm watching these videos with all the all the stuff from the Haynes Apperson Festival Quiet Riot concert where the police basically, you know, show up. This dude's got a cross. They determine that it's a stick that could be used as a weapon. Next thing you know, they're punching him. What's up, Cindy? Rescued by Mary. Hello. They're kicking him. They're tasing him left and right. And so I'm sort of digging into, a lot of this, and I'm noticing that there's a reason for everything, and usually it is money. Um, Now, what they seem to be focused on here is Mr. Cantu is um, too close to this VIP area. Um, Now, there's an article from the Kokomo perspective. I'll drop links for all this stuff I'm going to refer to. Um, but there's an article from the Kokomo perspective advertising these VIP seats in this little closed off section of the public park, um, as like for $20 for the tickets. And the proceeds go to the Wyman Group, WYMAN, as in Howard County Commissioner Paul Wyman. So the proceeds for this very important person area go to the county commissioner's personal business. The EMA people that are at this event are Howard County Emergency Management. So these are county employees, meaning they're subject to the supervision of Paul Wyman, one of the county commissioners. So they're essentially, literally, there protecting his investment. Now, in the advertisements for this event, where is it? Right here. If you go on cityofkokomo.org/band_concerts.php, there is a 2019 summer concert series schedule. It's a PDF. It's downloadable. Has July 4th through 6th, Haynes Apperson Festival. City of Kokomo will again be co-sponsoring summer concerts in Foster Park at the Kokomo Arts Pavilion, sponsored by Daniels and Alexander and Weber Speakers. Concerts are from June through September with the following schedule, etc. So this is a tax-funded event where a county commissioner has his own little special section that he's allowed to charge people to sit in. And these are county employees that are being used to protect. That's what they're upset about, is that they've determined that he is annoying. He's got a cross and a Bible. He's talking about freedom of speech. He appears as if he could have a disability. They're making fun of his disability. These are county employees. So what they're talking about, that it being a private event, it's not a private event. I'm from the city of Kokomo. That's sort of why I've invested so much of my time into this. This is my hometown. The Haynes Apperson Festival has been going on for as long as I can remember. It's always been open to the public. Always. I don't remember quite as much VIP section growing up as a kid, and even a few years back when I lived in Kokomo. But you know what I mean? There's an obvious conflict of interest. What's up, everyone coming in? There's an obvious conflict of interest here, involving a lucrative aspect of how all this played out. These county employees that are subject to the supervision of the individual who's actually making the money off of this VIP section that the park people are so upset about, when they infringe upon this man's civil rights, seems to be pretty clean connection. It goes right to the guy that's making the money. So their obvious bias sort of taints their reasoning for getting him out of the park, which only reinforces that. Okay, so basically, as far as him being removed from a public park, which, okay, in the city of Kokomo's ordinances, 99.01 under definitions, a public place is any and all streets, curbs, gutters, sidewalks, alleys, or other public ways, any and all public parks, lakes, spaces, publicly owned rights of way, grounds, or buildings within the corporate limits of the city or owned by the city. You can go on, if you look up Kokomo City Ordinances, it's going to take you to an American Legal, some library.americanlegal.com, etc. Anyway, American Legal Publishing, I believe it is. So specifically, the reason for this is in the state of Indiana, if you're somewhere else outside of the state, or if you're in the state of Indiana specifically, this is how this works. Not everywhere is the same. But here in Indiana, the case that sort of defines when a police officer can or cannot remove an individual from a park actually was from another Kokomo park in 2004. Stephen L. Travis versus Indiana. That's 34A05-0402-CR-98. This was decided July 28, 2004. But some of the language from that is Indiana Code Section 38-8-3-6 sets forth the powers and duties of police officers. That statute does not authorize police officers to place persons on a trespass list or ban persons from a public park. Indeed, the state directs us to no statute, and our research reveals none, which authorizes a police officer to take such action. Police officers must enforce municipal ordinances, and the relevant provisions of the city of municipal ordinance provide, etc. Now, then they go forth with, this dude was charged with gambling, so I'm not going to go into those city ordinances because they're not applicable to this, but our review of those provisions reveals that a police officer is authorized to order a person to leave a city park when that person does not abide by park rules. But again, Kokomo's municipal code does not authorize a police officer to place a person on a trespass list or to ban someone from a park indefinitely. As we have already explained, the state directs us to no statute which authorizes a police officer to enjoin a citizen from visiting a public park. Absent some illegal act on Travis's part, Officer Fourkiller had no legal grounds to arrest him. So, basically, he would have to be in violation of a city ordinance, a park rule, in order to be told to leave the park, in order to be refusing to leave the park, which is what trespassing is. He would have, in order for him to be trespassing, he would have to have previously committed an ordinance or infraction violation, such as, what's up there, Regina? Disorderly conduct or prohibited noises, such, which is about all I can find in the Kokomo City of Ordinances. So Section 96.19 covers disorderly conduct, and Section 132.03 covers prohibited noises. Okay, now the prohibited noises thing basically says, being loud or something of that nature where you're bothering other people. But there is an exemption listed out in 132.04 that basically says during, festivities, festivals and things of that nature, they expect people are going to be a little bit louder at like maybe a concert. So there is basically a suspension of the noise ordinance kind of thing for the park during concerts and festivals. And so whatever rule he could possibly, whatever debate there could be about him maybe being in violation of this park rule specifically, it isn't applicable during the 4th of July festival because they anticipate people are going to get a little bit excited, maybe about freedom in America, and be loud. So that this is suspended. Now, the disorderly conduct, however, will go ahead and argue out. His carrying a cross and essentially protesting a rock band in the name of God is religious expression here in America. This is First Amendment protected activity all day long. It's not considered something, you know what I mean, in disorderly conduct, no matter how much they try to cop-splain it. Sorry, drop the stylus. No matter how much they try to, justify it in this other body cam video. Now, the penalty, you're gonna love this. He should have been written a ticket if he was indeed disorderly or in violation of noise ordinances or something of that nature. And the penalty for this is, I believe, $50. It's a $50 fine, which they don't actually write him the ticket. So it's sort of a violation of his due process. He's supposed to actually be accused of a rule violation because that's the only way to remove him from the park. Now, they're not claiming that he's actually violated any park rules. They're not claiming he's disorderly. You know what I mean? They don't. The officer tries to sort of coax the witnesses into claiming, you know what I mean? Like there's, he's like, I wouldn't say he's fighting. That's a strong way, but they basically describe this dude as annoying them. But being annoying isn't a crime. Carrying around a cross and a Bible and annoying other people like that isn't a crime. It's First Amendment protected activity. Now, I'm not religious, but this bothers me, as because it is First Amendment protected activity. He is in a public place, and this dude was like the officer, Drew Wallsmith, pretty much just runs up, pulls the EMA guy off, and starts just punching him and kneeing him. And then the guy that's tasing him pretty much immediately starts tasing him. They describe him as a big guy to try to justify it and everything. So they used so much force because he was bigger than them, and they were afraid of this stick cross that they interpreted to be, it could be a weapon. They outline very specifically that he's not utilizing this as a weapon, that he didn't cross any lines. The cop tries to coax them into this, and they don't actually state that he crossed any of these lines. That would be a park rule violation, which would authorize them to tell him to leave. They are solely saying that he's annoying, he's bothering other people, and they're trying to charge money for this special area, which goes to their boss. So it's all taxpayer funded stuff to protect a private investment. Now the fact that this is all conflict of interest and stuff like that, and it's a abuse of power, but then how brutal they got with this dude over his protected activities is a whole nother argument. But it never should have happened, because the motives and the reasons for this are clearly private profit and misinformation. The police show up and basically try to put their hands on this guy immediately, and then he resists, which is within his right to do so in the state of Indiana. But it's just, there's a lot of stuff wrong with this. The more I look into it, it's the park is clearly owned by the city. You can go on beacon.schneidercorp.com and look that up. It's registered to the City Parks Commission at 100 South Union Street. It's on the corner of Sycamore and North Washington, I believe. But your Board of Park Commissioners, this would be sort of their responsibility, as well as their jurisdiction on a complaint process, because they are actually who has control of the park, not a county entity. Anyway, so pretty interesting. By the way, Drew Wallsmith works at the Indiana University of Kokomo. That's the guy throwing all the knees and rib punches. So he works around college age individuals. They're just trying to educate themselves. So that's a lovely powder keg and a nice spot. But yeah, Paul Weinman is, you can reach him at 765-456-2234 or 220 North Main Street at the Howard County Administrative Center. He is an elected official, and basically these county employees were on city property protecting his private investment. And that's basically what led to all this civil rights violation. They were concerned that First Amendment protected activity was too annoying for them to be able to achieve maximum profits. So they beat the shit out of this guy in the middle of a family event. Which, I mean, I have a monetized YouTube channel because of this kind of thing. I guess police would rather watch this dude get, or people would rather watch this dude get beat up by the police than actually stop it. But that's another argument. Anyway, the Wyman Group, you can call at 765-854-1234. Maybe talk about them, about their private profits on, public property while they violate a citizen's rights. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get off here. I gotta watch these videos some more, see what else I catch. But I'll drop links to all this stuff in the comments section. Go ahead and check it out. Don't take my word for it. Check out the research. But yeah, there's more than meets the eye. Usually, if you follow the money, you can figure out the who, what, when, where, why, how, gaps of everything. There's usually somebody making money off of it. If you can figure out who that is, you can usually connect the rest of the dots pretty easily. And, obviously there's a lot of stuff that's immediately wrong with this, but how to escalate and why, well, you don't really need to see another video to understand what's going on here. And there's a lot of concerns there. These cops get very extreme with this guy. It's up there, state of Maine. Thank you, sir. But the EMA people, this is Howard County Emergency Management. Okay, they're located at 120 East Mulberry Street, Suite 6. You can reach them at 765-456-2242. Because this is all right. The responsibility for emergency management is vested jointly with government officials and the local citizenry. These people are responsible for basically on the front lines interacting with this gentleman who they claim is mentally ill in a fashion that's sensitive to that. They weren't supposed to be completely untrained to deal with the matter and basically call the police to come and electrocute the guy and kick him a bunch of times while he's on the ground. You know what I mean? They're supposed to know what First Amendment protected activity is as well. They completely dropped the ball on this. This is terrible. But basically, they would have been responsible for whether or not, you know what I mean? He's essentially accused of breaking a park rule. They would be the ones responsible for issuing a ticket. They are the ones that would be basically the agent of the property that would be telling him to leave, that would justify whether or not the police are able to come and enforce that, you know, being asked to leave the property. So as far as criminal trespass goes, he can't be refusing to leave the property and them enforcing the trespass if he's not asked to leave the property because of a valid rule violation accusation. So the EMA people are basically saying, you know, we told him to leave, but they don't have any justification other than he was annoying us with First Amendment protected activity. So go ahead and give all these people a call. Like I said, I'll drop a bunch of links, but this is crazy. You know, this is not what these resources are supposed to be used for. This, you know what I mean? And it never should have been used for something that managed to get this out of control. Especially if any of the things that they're saying, as far as, you know, they're claiming that he was mentally ill and that all these things, that doesn't give them the right to just beat the shit out of this guy in the middle of the park. They're supposed to know how to interact with individuals who have mental illness in a public setting. That's literally why they're hired and there and running around with these EMA shirts on, is they're supposed to be the individual who's trained on how to handle situations like this. They're not there to just collect a paycheck and walk around in the crowd. If something happens, an emergency, they're supposed to manage it, not escalate it. And that's exactly what they did, was escalate this situation with a lack of knowledge and a lack of understanding of what their job actually was, as well as what this man's rights were. And like I said, the fact that the case that draws the line, the precedent case for the state of Indiana as far as this goes, actually comes out of the city of Kokomo at another park, you know, less than 20 years ago, makes this even more ridiculous. Did somebody just say doxing? Oh my God. I'm referring to a bunch of public websites. They're not doxing, you know, it's nobody's personal contact information. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but anyway, so what else was I going to cover? Hold on one second. I'll have a notepad somewhere. Anyway, yeah, so persons acting unlawfully to be removed from park. No person shall remain within the park who does not abide by conditions adopted and posted by the board for the preservation of good order and the protection of property within the park, and no person shall remain in the park who does not abide by the instructions and directions of duly authorized park rangers, employees, or agents of the board in the lawful performance of their duties. Any person directed by a park ranger, employee, or agent of the board to leave the park shall do so promptly and peaceably. However, lawful has to be lawful. No person shall fail or refuse to comply with any order lawfully given by any park personnel or law enforcement officer acting under the authority of the board. Municipal Code of the City of Kokomo, Section 96.19 K and M. It's up there, HPR News. So you see more. I'm about to wrap up anyway here. But yeah, go ahead and check all these out. The Kokomo Perspective article is titled Haynes Apperson Festival Brings 3 Days of Concerts. It's from July 2nd. You can find Officer Drew Wallsmith as a Indiana University of Kokomo police staff on their website. And then everything else I'll try to drop in the comments here shortly. But yeah, it's usually about the money. And essentially untrained police officers and untrained emergency response personnel. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Thank anybody that's checking this out. I'd like to thank San Joaquin Valley Transparency for covering this, PMP News, Central Indiana Accountability, the Kokomo Reporter, the Kokomo Brief. Um, there's a bunch of other individuals that wish to remain anonymous. Anybody I'm forgetting, I apologize. It's been a busy morning already. But I mean, a lot of people, took notice of this and tried to get this man some justice. So thank you for that. This is a terrible video. It's extremely difficult to watch. To anybody that can watch it all the way through, kudos to you. I sort of got to watch it in sections. It's yeah. I think the bit where they try to justify it in the third video is sort of the worst part. They make fun of what they're claiming is, mental illness or intellectual disability in Mr. Cantu. The guy's very freedom of speech, freedom of speech. It's just a bunch of, untrained, uneducated, insensitive males. And they basically are trying to justify the fact that they beat the shit out of this dude in the middle of the park because he's different. They discuss firearms laws and carrying a firearm. He didn't have a firearm; he had a cross. All the ignorant attempts to sort of explain it are what make it even worse. Is they sort of really display their true character in this attempt to explain how it got so bad at the end. But yeah, it's I'm gonna go ahead and get off here. Because like I said, I like to do this in chunks. It's pretty bad. Anybody can watch it all. But anyway, thanks again. You guys have a great afternoon. I'm out.